So we're live. Hey, Dozier. So we're live.
Yes, 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 yes. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Coach Wendy. Good to see you again this evening.
In
I hope
fact.
that we have had some time to refresh and come back here.
Mhm.
Okay. All
Okay, I
right,
can
all
see
right, all
that
right.
Chi's room is here, and Chi's room is going to be moderating with you.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes, yes.
hi, Chi's
I'm
room. Thank you
excited to
for
have a
doing this.
co-anchor this evening.
Hi, hello. Good evening, Coach Wendy. Good evening.
Hi, good
Yeah, Tuesday.
evening.
Good
Good evening,
evening. It's
Chizuru.
my pleasure to be here.
Why does it look like you're on the opposite side of Coach Wendy?
Huh? Be my complexion.
No, your background, the shelf behind you, looks like you're on the opposite
Oh,
side of Coach Wendy.
I know, right?
Yes,
well,
yes.
that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Over to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you,
Um,
Wendy, for this privilege. I am grateful.
okay, people, so you're welcome to the Saturday evening session for TIP Fathers Conference 2022. It has been back to back amazing, back to back fire for fire. All of the sessions from yesterday evening to this morning has been all inspiring to say the least. I don't know about you, children. Have you been following? What has it been like for you? It's interesting to have a co-anchor this evening. So let me hear from you what it's been like before we bring up our speaker that I know is already available here.
Yeah, amazing. Honestly, um, this is what we need this time and age in Africa. We really need this. I've been following. Um,
Mm,
Pastor Osiri was really, he went straight on point and gave
mm,
us what we really needed. Um, and I thank God for Coach Wendy with this whole package, because this is bringing light again in Africa.
yeah,
Definitely, fathers will never remain the same. I don't think there is any father that
true,
will come into this discussion and remain the same. So it's been
true,
amazing. And
true.
if you want me to share, there is something Pastor Siri said, which was very profound in terms of foundation. We are
Mm,
the foundation. We are the
mm.
foundation of our homes.
And
And
we cannot
whenever
borrow
we,
it.
yeah, oh my, there are so
we
many
cannot,
things he gave
we
there
cannot
that,
borrow
yeah,
foundations.
yeah. So it's very key, and this is very useful this time. Um, yeah.
All
So let
right.
me stop.
Hi, KDZ. I see you. I see a few other persons in the comment section. I think we're ready now. So I'm going to let you call up our speaker. He has been backstage and he's ready to go up now. So over to you, Chizuru.
All right. So thank you, Chedozie. This is an amazing time again that we are going to have a blast. This is a man that has been chosen not by chance, but by divine providence. He is
Mm.
orchestrated to be here this evening, and he is no other person but Mr. Chris Umar, and his profile is loaded. So let's sit back and listen to his profile as is being played now.
Chris A. Umar is currently the Deputy Chief of Staff to the Governor of Kaduna State, Nigeria. Until his appointment in October 2021, he was the Solicitor General of Kaduna State, a position he occupied since February 2017. He is a law graduate of the University of Abuja and holds a master's degree in Industrial and Labor Relations from the Kaduna State University, with an international practice diploma in capital market and loans from the College of England and Wales. He was called to the Nigerian bar in 2001 and appointed a notary public in 2010. With a career spanning over 20 years in both private and public sectors, he has served as the head of Chamber Abuja office with the prestigious law firm of Emmanuel Torosan & Co., special advisor to the Kaduna State government on legal matters to Governor Nasser El-Rufai, the legal advisor, Kaduna State Board of Internal Revenue Cadres, Deputy Chief of Staff, Deputy Governor's Office, Cabinet Secretary, Kaduna Produce Management Company, Co-Chairman, Kaduna State Law Review Committee and Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Justice, Kaduna State. He is a member of the Nigerian Bar, International Bar Association, Nigerian Institute of Management, Chartered Institute of Arbitration UK, and Commonwealth Association of Legislative Council. He is passionate about governance, institutional reforms, and the administration of the criminal justice system, and has attended professional development programs at the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, University of London, and Harvard Kennedy School. He is a prosecutor, a draftsman, and an administrator. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the TIP Fathers Conference 2022, Chris Umar.
Wow, 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 wow. Wow. This is fabulous. Fantastic. Right. So I'm sure if you're out there listening, you will be very, very expectant. And I trust, I bet you're going to have what you are expecting and more. So, but before we go on now to our speaker, he's here. Before we go on, we want to quickly have a review from the inner circle. You know, we need to know what is happening inside. So let's sit down and listen to a review from the inner circle now. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, my name is Adesoji Aluko. I'm one of the inner circle parents, and my journey started. Okay, it was actually my wife that brought me in. She joined December 2019. Before then, she has been following the program. So I think December 2019, she joined fully for 2020. So when she told me, I said, it's one of those women things. I said, in my mind, I said, consider that, but I wasn't expecting any serious changes. I said, okay, that's fine. So I noticed she started, she will send things to me to help her praying from work. When she's reading her book, she will get some questions and write it out and say that I should check this, I should look at this. Most times, even when I'm not interested, she will just use style. So when she sends things to me at work, she will say, did you read this part? Did you check this? Some articles like this, like that. So just for me to get in. So that was how we started the journey. And I noticed some changes, the way she relates to the children, even with the other kids staying with me. So I said, no, that's fine. So I was just following up. So a lot of changes. So I was just following up. We joined in and out. So in December.
Okay, I think we have some tech issues with that. But I like what he was saying. He said his wife used style to bring him inside. So I'm hoping that the men that are listening today, they're going to use style to enter the inner circle. All right.
Wow.
I'm sure we'll come back to take that review in full before we finish the session. But our guest is right here on stage. Welcome, Barrister Chris. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm sure you can hear me, right?
Yes, loud and clear. We can hear
loud
you.
and clear.
Thank you very much, conveners of this very important activity. Thank you, Wendy, Longi, for choosing me. It's indeed a privilege and an honor to be on this platform right here today to share some of my thoughts and my experiences in respect of wills. First, as a lawyer who has served both in the public and private sector, as a husband and a father, most important. If I wasn't married or I didn't have kids, or I wasn't a husband, I probably would not have been the right person to do justice to whatever it is I've been able to write. So really, really, it's a privilege for me to be here to share some of my thoughts. Thank you once again. And then with your kind permission, I think I can proceed, right?
Sure. Fire on, sir.
Okay, listeners at home, wherever you're joining us from, like they said, my name is Chris Umar. I'm a lawyer, a legal practitioner in Nigeria, and I welcome you to this evening's event. Today, this evening, I'll be talking to you about wills and trust fund, and the importance of having that in a family, especially as men and as fathers. Um, Let me start. I have a paper that I have prepared to share with you people this evening, but I want to start by sharing with you a recent survey that was done recently. According to that survey, 8 out of 10 men over the age of 45 do not have a will. Do not have a will. And 7 out of 10 will not make a will before their demise. On that note, I want to be thinking along that side before as we progress with the paper. I read it again. 8 out of 10 Nigerians over the age of 45 have no will. They have prepared none. And then 7 out of 10 will prepare none till they demise. Writing a will is not the most pleasant of tasks, not at all. After all, by so doing, you are not only acknowledging the inevitability of your death, that means you agree that someday you will leave, but you are also playing a role in planning what happens after you leave. So it's not a very, very pleasant task at all. The idea or thought of making a will to an average Nigerian is often interpreted as a death wish and is largely frowned upon. But in reality, a will or a trust fund is as important as acquiring the assets that you have. This feeling or foreboding in articulating the distribution of assets in the eventuality of your death perhaps stems from a reluctance to accept that death is inevitable. I remember myself, the first time I wrote one was during the COVID era. I remember one day I didn't talk to anyone. You remember how COVID was? Every time you wake up in the morning, you put on TV, you watch CNN, people, everyone is dying everywhere. You know, so one day I sat down alone. I woke up. My family lives in Abuja. I work in Kaduna. So one day I woke up in the morning and I don't know, one kind of fear gripped me, and that was when I did the very first draft of what is my will today. So it took me the events happening around the world for me to come to terms with the fact that someday we will leave. And when we do leave, what would you or how would you want certain things to be handled while you were gone? So whatever the case may be, the importance of estate sharing tools such as wills and trust funds far outweighs the reluctance in its usage. The aim of this presentation this evening is to concisely highlight the importance of trust funds and wills and their essential requirements. The presentation is divided into two, parts A and B. Part A gives us an overview of wills and trust funds, respectively, while Part B will discuss the importance of wills in our family setting, especially in Nigeria. So, an overview of will and trust funds. What is a will? A lot of people have heard wills, wills, wills. A lot of people have not seen it. I remember the first time I saw a will myself, I was reading the contents and my hands were shaking. There's this popular saying we say in law that a will is ambulatory, meaning it speaks from the dead. It doesn't come into effect until you have gone. So the fact that I was reading the will, it was like a dead man was talking to me. So I had this fear, you know. So what is a will? A will is a legal document written by a person called a testator that contains instructions of his or her wishes to be carried out after his death. This is an ordinary and simplified definition of a will. But the statute definition of a will, according to the Wills Act, is quite complex. I have it here probably later when I share. I'm trying in my presentation to make it as simple as possible because I understand that my audience may not necessarily be lawyers. So if I come across a technical word or a quote, I will pass. But another definition of a will is that a will is a testamentary document voluntarily made and executed according to law by a testator of sound mind, where he disposes his properties to beneficiaries to take effect after his death. In Nigeria, a will could either be oral or written. Oral wills made by word of mouth are recognized under our customary or indigenous laws. An oral will, which is also called non-pupative or deathbed will, is like a dying declaration. An oral will is like some of the things people, you watch Nigerian movies, and then every now and then you see people make certain statements on their dying bed, either in the hospital, sometimes at home, on their sick beds, and they say, "Oh, listen, when I die, check the bed, check the box beneath my bed. You'll find this letter, give it to the so person." So that in law is taken also to be a will. But in real sense, for the purpose of our discussions today, a will would be that which is written. So such wills are valid only in a few states and only in very limited and unusual circumstances. However, this presentation will focus more on written wills. Now, in the course of our discussion, there are terms that, or in the course of writing wills, or whenever you're discussing wills, or you are hearing people present people, there are certain terms that you would hear. So permit me, please, I'm trying to manage my time. I'm told I have only 5 minutes and 15 minutes to answer questions. So there are certain words you would hear. Testator just means, when you hear a testator, it means a man or a woman who is giving. So if it is your wife that is writing the will, she becomes a testator. If the father that is writing the will, he is a testator. Beneficiary, of course, is whoever is benefited. Your husband can be your beneficiary, your wife can be your mother, your children, your colleagues at work, your domestic staff can all be beneficiaries. Then executors of a will are people who are trusted individuals. Sometimes they're your bosses at work, your colleagues at work, trusted friends, your best man, one of your relatives. But be mindful that an executor cannot be a beneficiary. So once you place your estate, he's like a trustee. Once you make me or your neighbor or your brother an executor of your will, he cannot turn around and benefit from the will. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, Chedoze, you are muted. Nobody can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right, sir. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, sir?
And he is also muted. Barrister Chris, you're muted, sir. You might want to unmute yourself.
Can you...
There's a button.
Can you hear me?
Yes. You're good now.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to draw your attention to your earpiece. It's rubbing somewhere on your clothes and then it's making...
Oh, no, I've removed it. I'm not using earpiece now. I'm close to the mic. I can talk. I can...
All right. That's fine, sir. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
So can you hear? Okay. Okay, so tested, I don't know where you... Okay, like I said, an executor is somebody who is holding uh, who is a trustee who would execute your will after your demise. So, what are the essential requirements of a valid will? Please, this is very, very important. This is very, very important because it's not every piece of document that can stand the test of time. Believe me, there have been several battles in respect of this after your demise. The whole idea of leaving a will behind is defeated if some of these valid requirements are not there. They are simple, but they are mandatory. So there are certain conditions that must be met in writing a valid will. These conditions are very important, like I said. A valid will has a binding force in law. Important factors must always be considered while writing a will. It must be made voluntary. It must be clear. It must be seen. Once it is seen that either your wife or your child or your relative has an undue influence on you, it is a ground for the others to challenge the will after your demise. So we need to be very careful about that. Once it is normal, it is okay. I mean, in normal Nigerian parlance, they will say his nine wife they control him. Forget about that. That is not what we're talking about here. Undue influence means the person is not your boss. The person is not in custody of something that you want. He's not blackmailing you. You're making it out of your free will. So it is very, very important that you are making that gift out of your own free volition. Nobody is coercing you. Nobody is putting you under any duress. So it is very important. It is also, that is number one. It is very, very, very important that you put it in writing. In law will say the best way to prove any statement is the document itself. Once you have a document, it solves a lot of issues. That is why even as friends, I tell people when people loan or borrow money from each other, I say, please reduce it into writing. It saves you trouble tomorrow. It saves you a lot of misunderstanding. Later, somebody says, no, this was not how much I took from you. It is very, very important that whatever it is we do in law, generally, it's in writing. So that people will not come and say, your wife will tomorrow say, oh, my husband intended that I should take the family house. And then somebody says, where and when did he say so? So you must put it in writing. It must be signed by a testator. That is you who is making the will. You need to sign it and also put that's your signature and your name. Remember to sign it and put your name. It is one document. There are certain documents in law that a signature suffices once it's proven, but this is one that the law is very, very clear about. It says name and signature. Next to that is that the signature of the testator, that is your signature, must be acknowledged at least by two witnesses. Now, many of us, of course, have acquired property in the past, sometimes whether by way of deed of assignment or power of attorney. Sometimes the witness, I've done that several times. Sometimes the witness column, people just sign and then leave and say, okay, when I get home, my wife will witness it for me. Or when I get to work, my best man or my colleague is going to witness. It is not the same with wills. For wills, the two witnesses must be there. The two witnesses, cases have gone all the way to Supreme Court because of this issue. The two witnesses who are testifying, who are witnessing your signature, must be there at the same time. So the two of them would say, usually it will read like this: signed by the testator, John, in the joint presence of us. Joint presence of us. So it is important that the two witnesses are there to to witness your signature. The testator, that is you who is writing the will. It may be written by you, your wife, it may be your kids. Whoever is writing the will, he must be of sound mind. He must be of sound mind. He must be, people don't write will on sick bed. You don't wait till when you are in pain or when you're under the influence of some medication. That is why a lot of wills in Nigeria have been challenged, because the writer wrote the will when he already was sick. So if your will is dated, assuming 2 months ago, and you passed away, and then your kids say, "Oh, no, that was the period mommy or daddy was suffering cancer, chemotherapy, the radiation," he was under all kinds of influence. So it is very, very important that you write the will when you are still healthy, hale and hearty. You're under no duress, no coercion, no drugs. You're of sound mind and capacity. It is very, very important that you take note of that. Please do not wait until you're injured or you are sick. It must be the name. It must name the beneficiary or beneficiaries. Don't leave. Most wills are written by lawyers on your behalf. So if your lawyer is the one writing for you, he most likely be writing a much clearer piece. But in the event, there's nothing that says you cannot write your will yourself. If you've got 4 properties, you can just, it's simple. The format the will must take, there isn't any exact format in law, but there are just some things that must be contained. Witnesses is one, but you must not know how to draft. It's not, it can just be 4 paragraphs. My bicycle, I bequeath to my daughter in Kechi. My wristwatch to my son. If you are a doctor, my stethoscope to my son, the doctor. You can just straightforward. It can be one piece, one pager. Nothing says it must be 2 pages. You must not use all those legal languages that we as lawyers, sometimes my colleagues like to use, so that we can earn plenty fees from you. So you can write it. Absolutely. Sick people suffer from dementia or delirium. So if somebody just dropped a note there, that is very true. So when you are sick, it becomes a problem, So you must also identify the property. Try and be clear. Don't say, I leave my car to my children. Now, which of them? You need to be very, very clear. And when you say my car, if the car has a model or it has a registration number, it is very, very important that both the model of the car, the registration, as the case may be, is listed there clearly. Or you say my house in Abuja. In the event you have 2 houses in Abuja, it leaves us, or the executors or the courts, it leaves them with a lot of trouble trying to decipher which of the vehicles or which of the houses you intended to give your first child. And don't say to my first child, my second child. No, don't use names. So be very, very specific when you're talking about the property, and be very, very specific when you're talking about who to inherit that particular property. Closely linked to the valid requirements of a will is also alterations and erasures. What I'm trying to say is here, many of you may ask, okay, what if I write a will? Is the will final? Are there no amendments to it? What if I make a mistake or I don't delete something? What if I lose my loved one and the beneficiary of a certain gift ceases to exist? Or the gift that you intended to give your son has ceased to be yours? So it can be 2 ways. It can be that you had a car, things were so well for you, so you had certain houses. Or because you were living abroad, you had a house in London. But now you're back to Nigeria and you've liquidated that investment. So now you're back in Nigeria and that investment no longer exists to your name, I mean. So there are ways. Wills are not final. They're not final. There are ways to amend your wills. There are ways to review that which you have written. I am not praying that couples should be separated or divorced. I don't know. I'm a Catholic. I have all certain views about, but in the event, sometimes I've seen issues too also, where because people are apart, they decide to say, oh, okay, no longer I want to change my will and all that. So there's what we call a codicil. It's called a codicil, as pronounced Codicil, codicil. So if you prepare a codicil is like a second will. The very first one you do is the will. Subsequent ones that you make after the very first one, because you never cancel the very first one. Whatever you do is an addendum to the first one. It is called a codicil. Now, when you have or prepare a codicil, you can say you will always link it to the very first will. You know, the first will usually says, this is the last testament of Mr. Ezekiel Jonathan Bauer, who resides at Suso. So when you are making a codicil, you refer to that last testament, you will link them and then say, in article this, in clause this, that house which I gave so person, you know, you now explain your reasons. Maybe you unfortunately he's no longer with us, or due to whatever reasons, you don't have to give the reasons, you have sold, and then if what you've sold you use it to buy something else and you want to give it back to him, you can go ahead and do that. So we can review our wills by codicil, and then in rare occasions by re-execution. In my paper here, I just saw it. A codicil is a miniature will. Yes, it's a miniature will. I don't want to call it will. I prefer to call it codicil, but it's a small will having the same sorry about that. I'm talking from home. My son just came in. I was trying to. So now, after we write a will, after you prepared your will, after you've ensured that those valid requirements are there, it's been witnessed by it's been witnessed by relevant people, that is your witnesses. You made sure you are of sound mind, your testamentary capacity, I was witness, you were clear in your objects that you were bequeathing, and you were clear in the people, your beneficiaries. What then do you do with a will? Many a times you can have a very, very valid will, a very beautiful, well-written will, but in law, custody is very important. Yes, it is very well that it is very, very true. Wills should be very specific and detailed. Now, when you write a will, a valid will in law, please kindly note that custody is very, very, very important. Imagine if you write a will and upon your demise, it is your wife who brings out the will. What is the probative value that your family would attach to such a will? The next thing you hear, Akrona, she killed him. She wanted to kill him. She wanted his property. You know, so custody is very, very, very important in law. So when you have a valid will, well written, where do you keep this will? Of course, the very first thing is your personal, your safe. If you have some people have safe at home. Some people have personal box. You can keep them there. Of course, that's the very first place where we had, because you have a copy. Because usually when you make a will, you make them in many copies. You don't just make one copy. So definitely you have your copy written somewhere. The second place we would like to keep is the probate registry. There exists in every state capital, a probate registry. In Abuja, there's one. In Kaduna, everywhere you go. In Lagos, there exist probate registries where you can go with your will in an envelope. They have got this red seal. You pay just a token, and then they register the will. They register it just like land documents. They will put a red seal on it and seal it so that nobody can open it until you until your demise. Another place to keep your will is banks. Some of us have certain accounts that you can keep your certificates, so you can keep your wills with your banks also for safe custody. Your bankers can produce your will, a copy of your will. You can leave your will again with your lawyer. We That's there's someone, I'm in custody of the person's will. Every now and then, jokingly, I call people around, because there are certain announcements that will be announced upon people's device. I try to find out. I met the person through my mom, so I get to say, "Oh, so how's your friend?" And my mom say, "Oh, she's good. It's good that you're asking her." My mom doesn't even know that I am in custody of the lady's will. They work together and she has retired. So it's important that you keep your will with your lawyer. Once he hears about your demise, he is most certainly uh, notify your family that you have a will. The next place to keep, of course, friends and close associates, even though I wouldn't encourage that, but it's important. Sometimes people will challenge you because your friend is close, because he's your best man. So he can have a copy, but just make sure your main copy is not with your close friend, but he can notify them of the existence of a will. I'm sure you have heard announcements like when people pass, people will say, "Do you know anyone if he's indebted to anyone or if he has any financial dealings with anyone?" I've heard families make those announcements in church so that if you know you owe him, and I've seen people come out to say, "Yes, he owed me 500,000, but listen, I don't want it. I have allowed him to." So it's important that that announcement is made. Once people who ordinarily will hear about your demise, those are the people that one of them can know about that you have written a will. He doesn't need to know the content, please. And then where you belong to a club. I don't know where you're listening from, especially, people who live in the southern part. In Lagos State, I know there are certain clubs that are quite very strong. You hear of the Yoruba clubs, the tennis club, the golf club. I belong to the golf club. There are certain clubs, the tennis club, Boys Brigade, Rotary Club. If you belong to a club that you're passionate about, clubs also play a very important role in keeping uh, your will safe. So that is that about wills. I will come back to talk about the importance, but quickly, in like 3 minutes, I will talk about a trust fund. But a trust fund is like a will, but they're not exactly. It's not so applicable in what we do. But every now and then you hear about a trust. A trust can a trust can be defined as an arrangement where a person called a trustee gives another party the legal right to manage his or her own funds. So unlike wills, this one we're talking about funds. Sometimes the funds are shares, are in stocks. So, but it's not you're creating a trust. It's not like wills. A trust is different from wills, but it can serve a similar purpose, but it's a little bit too technical. It's a little bit too technical, but it's important. I just mentioned that is what it is. The object of a trust, the object of a trust fund property can be real estate. It can be a bond. It can be mutual funds or even stock. The trust fund is set up in such a way that the real benefit of the property accrues not to the trustee, but to the beneficiaries or the other objects of the trust fund. So you can set up a trust fund, make a few of your friends, like you hear of educational trust. You can say, upon my demise, I want rent from this property. If my kids have not attained the age of 18 or they are still in school, please, income realized from this can be invested, and then the income realized from it can be used to advance a certain cause. It can be that you have a sick mother. It can be that you have a sick brother. It can be that you have children who are below a certain age. So you can set up a trust fund to take care of that. There are two types of trust fund. There is a public trust fund and there is a private trust fund. The public trust funds are like what you have in Nigeria. Usually those ones are backed up by law, by legislation. That is like the National Social Insurance Trust Fund. So the public trust fund doesn't affect our conversation here. And then you have the private trust funds. That is the ones I was talking about earlier, where on our own we can set it up by way of agreement. There's no regulatory framework governing that of private trust, but it's important that you know that in the event you don't want to write a will, you can set up a trust for your kids. But for the purpose of this conversation, it's left for you to make the choice. It is a will that that most family people, most fathers, it is will that they use. Trust are a bit complex. They're a bit complex to handle. So I wouldn't talk much about that. I can see I have for just 5 minutes. I will share the paper so that even after the presentation, some of you can read it on your own. So it is, I've come towards the end, which is the importance of wills and trust funds. I'll be talking about them interchangeably. Number one, a will excludes rules of inheritance according to the administration of estate law. The law provides for how the estate of a deceased person who died without will should be administered. A will excludes rules of inheritance. There are certain laws, certain regulations, certain practices that if you do not have a will, your property will be subjected to it. Of course, one of those things is that you need to go to court, you need to go there, you need to do all that. Once you have a will, you have prepared for yourself and to whoever is going to administer this will or the trust fund after you. That is how it's going to be done. So you take a decision today whether you want to leave it to anyone to handle it according to his own will or discretion, or you guide him how you want it to be. A testator may in his lifetime appoint executors. If you write a will, you are at liberty to appoint the pastor of your church, somebody to help you implement the will. But if you die intestate, you do not have that advantage. If you die without a will, you do not have that advantage. Thirdly, it takes away issues like it takes away the need to have letter of administration. I don't know how many of you have had cause to go to court to prepare letter of administration because you need to go to bank or you need to access certain benefits that has accrued or belonging to your loved ones. In practice, believe me, I have seen people who can't even afford, especially while I was in practice, private practice, a lot of people come crying to you, women especially, come to you. There is some money in the account, but the woman cannot even pay school fees. And the schools are about to resume. She cannot pay school fees and cannot access the money because it takes you about 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer, to process a letter of administration. But with a will clearly and easily just confers title or ownership to your wife or your kids, as the case may be. So it is important that you write that will. Number five, the administration of the estate of deceased who died with a will is cheaper. It is cheaper. I'm not saying the court will charge you more, but there are certain levies that the courts will definitely charge. If it is lump sum that you have in your account, or if it is benefits accruing from you in terms of death benefits, insurance, and all that, there are certain charges that certain courts, and these charges differ from one jurisdiction to another. And don't forget, most people who go to process also letter of administration, they are not lawyers. So there's also the legal fees attached to processing letter of administration. But if you write a will, you have an opportunity to have settled whoever is your lawyer. Sometimes people pay even the cost of executing the will. So when you write a will, you are rest assured that upon your demise, everything just goes smoothly to your wife, or to your children, or to your brother, or to your sick mother. Believe me, I've seen complicated family settings. Sometimes some people marry non-Nigerians, foreigners, who do not understand our culture and tradition, that sometimes you need to send home money. Sometimes you need to take care. I know of a friend who told me he's married to an English lady, and he wanted to send home money for treatment of his mom. And the English lady said, doesn't she have health insurance? So you see why will is very important. Sometimes it's important to take care of your sick mom. Sometimes it's important to take care of your sick dad. But most importantly, your immediate family is your primary responsibility. Believe me, don't take for granted. You see, the dynamics change. It changes when you are not there. Sometimes you say, oh no, I have just a few brothers. No, come on, they don't need it. I know a family here in Abuja. They took away, they don't even need it. They were at all time richer than their son. But their only son died. He was living in Gwarimpa here, in Gwarimpa, where I live. They took away the furniture in the apartment. They took away the only car this couple had. It was painful, but it's the reality. It's painful, it's the reality. So don't take for granted that you have. Don't say that you are putting all the trust upon your brothers. They will take care. I have seen people turn their backs. I've had cause to represent. I've had cause to represent brothers. I have been involved in legal tussles. I have read cases. I have met also cases in court involving this issue. Please, please, people should take advantage of this. And last but not the least, about wills. I'm sorry, just I have a call kept coming. I'm sorry. So it is important that you write a will. Uh, Let me share with you a little story, an experience I had. One of the first wills I've had to not I didn't draft the will, but I was and he gave me a will to go through. In that will, this gentleman chose even the songs that he wanted at his funeral. And I will never forget, one of those songs was Amazing Grace. A will gives you an opportunity to take care of your loved ones. It gives you, I wouldn't say it extends your life, but it gives you an opportunity to take part in should I call it your life? It gives you an opportunity to still be there even when you are not around. It gives you an opportunity. How beautiful it would be to be certain or to be so sure that your children's education is well taken care of. Your daughter's education is well taken care of. If you belong to certain cultures where your daughter needs to pay dowry or your son needs to pay dowry, you can make provisions for that. You can make provisions even for the tiniest of the items. This gentleman's will that I read even wrote a list of some of his close friends that when I die, notify Alhaji so chief this to attend my funeral. So it is very, very important, if not for the sake of your wife, for the sake of your children's education, your children's welfare, your children's upkeep. It is quite complex. Look at Nigeria today. We are governed by a lot of traditions. We have certain cultures that do not allow the girl child to inherit. There are certain cultures that do not allow the woman to inherit under certain circumstances. The only way to circumvent this culture, these traditions, even though Supreme Court has decided in several cases, they have given back the right, especially the girl child in the Igbo tradition and certain traditions in Edo State that hitherto didn't allow girl children to inherit their parents. With a will, with a valid will, you can keep tradition aside. With a valid will, you can keep family interference aside. With a valid will, you can sustain that your old and sick mother is maintained and her welfare is well maintained in the city or village wherever she lives. With a valid will, you will do what my father used to say, that I don't want to die with a frown on my face. I used to wonder what that meant, but now I understand. Every day I understand. With a valid will, you can die with a smile on your face. On that note, I would stop here. It looks like I've taken about 2 minutes, and we'll have to take questions from you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. This has been amazing. This has been amazing. Before Barrister Chris came off stage, I was telling him backstage that for some persons, this topic is a bit scary, and then he affirmed that it is scary for many persons to discuss the subject of will. But he has delivered it so simply that it gets interesting. A will gives you an opportunity to be there even when you are not there. This has been a very enlightening session. I'm glad he says that the resources also are going to be available. Please be sure to follow the Intentional Parent Academy on all our social channels. And of course, if you're part of the inner circle, you'll be able to have access to some of these resources even after the class has ended. I'm going to let Barrister go get a sip of water while we take an inner circle review again. After the review, sir, we will take the questions. So let's take one review.
All right, then. Thank you. I'm seeing some of the questions already, and I'm writing them.
Yeah.
So when you come back, you can provide answers. So let these questions keep rolling in.
Okay. So inner circle.
Wow. Yeah, my name is Adesoji Aluko. I'm one of the inner circle parents, and my journey started. It was actually my wife that brought me in. She joined December 2019. Before then, she has been following the program. So I think December 2019, she joined fully for 2020. So when she told me, I said, it's one of those women things. I said, in my mind, I said, consider that, but I wasn't expecting any serious changes. I said, okay, that's fine. So I noticed she started, she will send things to me to help her print from work. When she's reading her book, she will get some questions and write it out and say that I should check this, I should look at this. Most times, even when I'm not interested, she will just use style. So when she sent things to me at work, she will say, did you read this part? Did you check this? Some articles I did like that. So just for me to get in, so that was how we started the journey. And I noticed some changes, the way she relates to the children, even with the other kids staying with me. So I thought, no, that's fine. So I was just following up. So lot of changes. So I was just following up. We joined in and out. So in December,
Okay, that review has come off again, and it's awesome. Thank you very much for the review. I don't know, Chizurum, what were your highlights from this session before we start taking the questions?
Ah, this is amazing. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing this. There's so much in it because here I even have question for you because
Please.
I see a place where we are really a lot of people here. We are really in ignorance and
True.
swimming in ignorance and happy and making
True.
merry in
True.
ignorance. So let me go straight to the question because you've really I wrote a lot and I would love to have the material as well.
Okay.
Now, many a time, if you look at in our setting here in Nigeria, in Africa, many a time when people hear will, just as Chidozie said, it's scary. And the reason is because they begin to think about death and think about old age. So a lot of people don't tally they tally will with old age. How about
Mm.
young people? How about single people, not married even? Is there anything, are they included in will? The newly married, are they included in will? Could you throw light a bit about that?
All right. Can I go ahead?
Yes, sir, go
Yes, sir.
ahead. That was Chizurum's
All right.
question. Can
Okay.
everybody write
Okay.
a will?
So let me start from the last question, which is from my friend. Uh, the age requirement, you will find out in my paper. I had to, this topic is so big that you can have a whole seminar conference on just wills.
Mm.
You can have
Mm.
many people come
Yes.
talk, and I didn't even give you case law because, like I said, I was not talking to lawyers. I didn't want.
Mm.
So of course, the requirement for a will is by the Wills Act is 21. But once you are 18, you can write a will. You can write a will. But as to benefiting from a will, your marital status notwithstanding, will has to do with ownership of property and how you want it to be handled. So even when you are single, eh, you have moved from home, you've come to Abuja, your own done better, you never marry, and don't forget, like a song I used to like, don't forget that people stay home, people are home, you've left family at home. So there are certain states that if you leave property, uh, even your mom can't just come from Edo or Shun and just come and begin to claim some of your properties or your benefits right here in Abuja. So it is important. So marital status notwithstanding, it has got nothing to do with only when you're married, but you just need to be of marriage as in 18 years. 18
Mm.
years,
Mm.
you know,
All right.
then you can write a will.
All right.
But to benefit from a will, it has no age requirement.
Okay.
It
Okay.
has no age to
Yeah.
benefit to be a beneficiary. In short, it is for the benefit of those kind of people. My youngest
Yeah.
is 10. My youngest is 10, will be 11 now, and my oldest is going to be 16 this year. So you can imagine when you have kids within that age, you need to plan for them. You need to decide what certain
True.
things would,
True. True.
So it has nothing to do with age. Age is only for the person writing, not for the person benefiting. Then
All right. All right.
the next
Yes.
question, somebody talked about what if your administrator, uh,
Betrays your will.
yeah,
Yes.
betrays your will. That is why you don't name one administrator. Uh, you don't have one administrator for your will, and if in practice you don't select people from the same, assuming I was driving today. I'm in Abuja at the moment. I was driving today around Kado and places and saw people playing football. So people belong to many of their clubs these days. You don't make your administrators all from the same
There's nothing wrong when you're choosing an administrator. You see, you also do not pick all of them your church members. When all of them are your church members or all of them are your pastors, you see, there's problem now. So you can pick your pastor as one. You can pick your schoolmate as another who doesn't send. He may be of different faith, so that when they go for that meeting where they are deciding he will tell your pastor that I no agree. You get what I'm saying? So one can be that, so you can pick, make sure you have not, odd numbers. Don't pick even numbers. Pick 3, 5, so that they can vote to it.
Okay. Wow. Wow. This is
You
powerful.
know, somebody asked if I can give them the
Yes. Can you
rules,
outline the steps for
the
getting letter
steps.
of administration?
Yeah, I can tell you. I didn't put it here. I can prepare something quickly and send, but I can tell you from what I've done so far. Sometimes you need, most importantly, you need a list of the properties. You need a list of the properties that you want assume you want to obtain letter of administration. When you approach the court, they will give you a form. You fill all the list. Then you will decide who the administrator should be. In practice, I've seen sometimes they will say maybe the wife, maybe the first son, maybe one of the uncles. Your liberty, because it's going to be published.
Okay.
It's going to be published. It's going to be published, and please, just a minute. Just
Okay. So I hope that our questions have been answered. If you have more, please
yes,
drop
but
it in the comment section. All right.
But let me
go
say
ahead.
something before I go. Let me share personal experience about what wills, how difficult it is to write.
Barrister's network is switching a bit. I'm hoping
acting
it will
up.
be back
Okay.
in no time. Okay, so about the questions, I think we have answered 2 of the questions. There's just one more question that I see here. We're going to take that question the moment that Barrister comes up. And this conversation has been so interesting and enlightening. You know, he made that statement, I underlined it. The dynamics change when the man is dead, or the testator. Let's use the word testator. It could be anybody. It could be the mother that owns the estate that is being quarreled over. But because his father's conference were talking to men, the dynamics change when the father is no more. You see all those fine uncles that used to be very nice to their nieces and nephews. You just wonder where all the demons in Africa came out from and leap on their shoulders to start manifesting. I've seen these things play out, and you cannot begin to imagine the trauma for the beneficiaries, people that are supposed to be peacefully mourning their dead, now get involved in fights, now get involved in court cases. I'm hoping that Barrister comes back because I wanted him to throw very much light on what he started with about oral wills and the fact, because that's what a lot of people want to rely on. When I'm dying, I can just call my children and then tell them something. What if there was no way to call your children? What if your children is Atlanta and you're in Abuja on that day? You're going to transmit these things how? And he also mentioned about who keeps the documents, custody, who keeps the document. You cannot finish writing a powerful document like that and keep it under your pillow. Welcome back, Barrister. Welcome back.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Yes. We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I had to change the device.
Okay. You were taking that question, the steps for doing the letter of administration. There's a second part to it. Why does it take 3 to 6 months before it can be processed?
Honestly, ordinarily it should be shorter. Ordinarily, it should be shorter. If you go to places like Lagos, it's even longer.
Wow.
But it's the reality of Nigeria. It is very sad. I've seen people cry. I've had cause to give women money because they will come, you are working for them, but they don't have transport to go back home. But right there in their husband's account, they have some money. I don't want to, to go into But the reality is that it is tough for women. I mean, it is tough for anyone, any beneficiary. Sometimes the beneficiary is you, the man. After all, let's not talk as if it's only women that get to be in need. There are men.
Yeah.
There are women who are stronger than men.
True.
Wendy, am I? Is that true?
Absolutely correct, Barrister.
So sometimes it is us who are trying to inherit from our women. So it gets tough. The regulatory framework in Nigeria for people to be able to access what is left behind for them by their spouse or father or mother, as the case may be, is really, really tough. And then you have people around also who are trying to, I know of a case of a lawyer. Anyway, let me just keep quiet. But people, sometimes they get swindled. Sometimes they get swindled in the course. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. It is tough. It is harsh to these people, you know. So that is why it's important that you write a will. The more reason why you should write a will.
Very, very. Everyone should get a will. That statistics says 80% of men don't, and 70% will never write. You know, the way we trust nothing in Africa is amazing. You know, God forbid, people are dying on a daily basis, and God is not forbidding anything. God is not forbidding that.
And you know what? The one that would, you know, this is a formal platform, so let me use the I wanted to. The one that will shock you the most is how people turn and change completely.
Overnight, yes. I was saying when you left. I was saying when you left. I've been in a situation. It was a hospital, and this man passed on. All these good uncles all of a sudden became a different version of themselves, and you wonder how it is.
It will shock you.
It will shock you. Let me throw in some other questions for you because our time is running. Somebody is asking. You talked about witnesses, and somebody is asking, can we do a group photograph so that after they sign it, we snap and add it to the document?
Of course, in this era of telco communications, videos, and all that, even in our law of evidence, we are beginning to allow videos. Okay. You know, before computer-generated evidence were not admissible in our courts in Nigeria. Okay. But with our Evidence Act that was reviewed some 4 or 5 years ago, now they are admissible. So what is better than a video? People do video in the Western world. People do video. People make it as you hear him telling you with his own mouth, not only writing. You can open a clip, you know, and just read it out yourself. You know, so of course, if you can do video, excellent. But we're talking to people who may be listening from us from areas where, but we know in these days people have smartphones and can do all kinds of. Of course, video good.
All right, awesome.
I was trying to tell you something on a personal note. You know, I told you I wrote my will during the COVID, right? So when I came home and I wrote the first word, when it got to my wife, I started crying. Thank God she's not at home now, so she won't hear what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? Because that is the first. That is you acknowledging
that you are mortal.
That you are mortal. You know. So when you know, because the will, if you read wills, it gives you room to write stories. You can. It's not just about the property. You can talk. Wendy's husband, you can say, "Hello, Wendy. You remember when we met? You remember life in school? You know, I have loved you from day one. You know, all the times that I was this, I was a drunk, I was that. You know, I hope you forgive me now that I've gone. You know, you can write. You can write your love letter. You can express yourself, your feelings. If there was serious things that have happened during the marriage, it's an opportunity to write, especially between husbands and wives, to write and say how exactly you feel. She may never have understood how and why certain things or certain decisions, but you can write and explain. So wills are quite, you know, I think I need to write a project.
I can feel Barrister Chris want to say a lot. On the platform that he is on, is not allowing him to
It's
say
not allowing
a
him
lot.
to come up.
This topic we can talk for 2 hours. So let me not go beyond. Thank you. It's been nice talking to you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Barrister Chris. I just want to say this. You know, the world is an interesting place, very small place. I had asked a friend that I wanted someone who is very experienced on this subject to come and speak. And the friend sent me, you know, Barrister Chris's number, and the flyer came out, and someone sent it to him and said, how come you're on this flyer? You know these people, and this person will be my husband's friend. And it comes back to me that Barrister Chris is his elder brother. I'm like, no way.
Wow.
From where? How is he your elder brother?
Wow.
And this is somebody I have known all the years of my marriage. In 13 years, I've known Matthew for 13 years and more. He was in secondary school with my husband. And you know, it just shows you how small the world can get. And I just want to say thank you to Barrister Chris for doing this. This is the first time I'm meeting Barrister Chris online, all right? And it's just amazing. We're very grateful, sir.
Thank you very much.
You decided that you can do this. We are grateful, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
We all pleasure. Bye. You guys take care. Enjoy your weekend.
All right,
God bless you.
So I will share with you the slides, eh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right then.
All righty. And that was amazing.
Amazing. I just love the simplicity. There are no technical jargons in this class. It was straight on point.
Yes, straight up. And we're going to just log out and go live with Akim Benjamin now. Akim Benjamin is going to be talking to fathers on discipline. Akim Benjamin has been a father for almost 20 years now and has been a school administrator for almost 30 years. He's been a teacher. He's been a head of school. You want to listen to him and hear how you can discipline instead of you becoming a tiger in your home.
A monster.
A monster that you need to do. You know, as Barrister Chris was finishing his session, you know, as he dropped that bombshell, a lot of families, even the rich ones, will take away what it is that you had. You know, it was like a piece. You know, I've always said that Nigerians mourn in an interesting way. So they mourn they hang on to things when they are mourning. I don't know why that happens. I've never been able to, you know, get that. But hey, we're where we are, and the solution is for us to write a will. Go back and write a will.
True. All right, everybody.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing.
And, from this end, somebody wrote in the comments, say, how did I get here? Shall you got here? Thank God we are here.
It's an amazing place to be. Yeah.
True. All right, so let's get into the other room. See you guys there.
Okay. All right. Okay.